Hi everyone, Aiden here with etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install this Timbren rear suspension enhancement system on our 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. So there's a lot of options when it comes to suspension enhancement. Timbrens and SumoSprings are going to be some of the easier maintenance-free options. Really great if you only have one trailer that you're towing, maybe just a camper, and you know what that load is going to be, so you don't need the adjustability. You just want something that's there to help support your vehicle. Whereas then on the other side of things, there's airbags, which offer a lot of adjustment, but they're pretty much engaged all the time, at least to some extent, and they do require some maintenance on them to maintain a certain air pressure. And while that's good for people that have many different trailers or varying loads on a single trailer, for people with just a camper, it's probably a little bit too much, and maybe you just don't want to deal with it. So in that case, I think something like this could be a great option. Now the Timbrens is going to include the Timbren itself, a rubber spacer, and then a metal washer, and this is the whole assembly that will bolt up directly to your frame for a very easy install process. This is a direct replacement for your factory jounce bumper, which when you put them side by side, we're pretty much doubling the height here, and what that ends up translating to is just quicker contact whenever, let's say, we're under load and we hit a bump. And all of a sudden now, our frame of our vehicle is coming down and making contact with that axle, or the bump stop is. On the factory one, it's going to take a lot longer to engage that because there's just a much greater distance, whereas with the larger size of the Timbren here, it's going to engage quicker. So if you've ever been towing a heavy load, you hit a bump, and it feels like the vehicle's bouncing for a really long time and taking a long time to correct. This is aiming to fix that problem where it might be a bit of a stiffer bump, but it'll return you back to that normal ride height a little bit quicker and correct itself. And because these operate independently from one another, you also get side-to-side support. So let's say we're driving down the highway and a big gust of wind hits us, or maybe we hit a large pothole on one side of our vehicle and it causes it to twist. This is going to engage on that one side that we're dipping down towards and help push us back into alignment. So again, side-to-side support as well as support from the tongue weight of your trailer. Now the hollow AON rubber material here is going to be really durable, but also offer a pretty high capacity, which means it's going to be pretty stiff. So the Timbrens can support 8,600 pounds. Now that's not to be mistaken with your vehicle's own weight capacity. It doesn't increase it. That's just what the Timbrens can handle. And what that translates to is something that's going to ride a little bit more roughly. If you're looking for something that's maybe a little bit more easy to compress, not as intense, then something like a SumoSpring would probably be a better fit for you. Regardless of which one you go with though, I think it's going to be a pretty solid addition, and my favorite part is the fact that it's maintenance free and a really easy install process. So let's walk you through that right now. Now the first thing you want to do is jack up the truck. We're going to lift by the hitch here just so that we can let our suspension hang a little more freely. You don't need a set of lifts to do this. You can definitely do it on the ground because there's a lot of space to work. Just make sure that you're doing this safely. We've got the emergency brake on, we've got the front wheels chalked, and we've got our jack stands that we'll put underneath the frame once this back end is up. With some extra room to work and the suspension hanging a little more freely, you want to grab yourself a 10mm socket with an extension and locate the factory jounce bumper. That's going to be just above the rear axle to the inside of the tire, and it's going to be just bolted onto the frame rail. We can use that 10mm socket to remove it. We need that extension to make sure that we can actually reach that 10mm bolt up there, and we can just start to remove this. And you can just set this to the side because we won't be reinstalling it. Now, before we go back underneath to install our Timbrens, we want to take a look at all the pieces in our kit. There's the Timbren itself, there's the rubber spacer, and the large metal washer. Now, depending on whether or not you use this spacer, you'll have either longer or shorter hardware. We're going to try the longer setup here, but if you find maybe you don't have enough clearance or it's just riding a little rough for you, you could take this out and use the shorter bolts. But one thing we do need to take note of is the orientation of the Timbren itself. There's a top section that has the metal ring, and the bottom section which is a little bit more large and open. And in there, you can probably hear, there's a washer. So we're just gonna kind of try to center that up, take our bolt and feed it through. And one trick you can maybe use is to just grab your 17mm socket now and feed that down through to get it lined up. We'll then do our spacer and that metal washer, and it'll take us underneath and start to attach it. So we're using an electric ratchet to make this a little easier. We'll get that bolt lined up and start to thread it in. Once that's in, we can come back through with our torque wrench and tighten and torque it to the specifications found in our instructions. Now, whenever you're tightening that down and torquing it, if you don't have a torque wrench, you can pick up one here at eTrailer, or you can usually check one out at your local auto parts store if you need it. Now, at this point, you just need to go to the other side, repeat the same exact steps with your other Timbren, and then you're good to go. Just make sure you torque it down properly and lower your vehicle back down safely. But that's it. It's a really straightforward and simple installation process. So if you're looking for a nice maintenance-free option for some suspension enhancement, then this could be a good fit for you and your 2023 Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Thanks for watching.